Probably a good one for you, Glenn, would be go upstairs and tell your wife you just landed a part-time job back at the Cayman Islands in that scuba diving camp.
And I'm taking the dog with me. Hey, Ryan, how are you? It's good to see you. And Barney, I was listening in, and when you guys were talking about the, you're not playing by the rules with April Fools, so you're going to just go after 12. I love that. I'm a big. We both don't really believe in Valentine's Day, if I remember correctly. I mean, the mandatory flowers and chocolates and stuff. I mean, you can do that anytime you want. You don't have to do it on one particular day. Yeah. So yeah, let's just do our own thing, man. I'm all in. I love it.
Hey, were you not part of a epic April Fool's joke between you and Ridgway way back in the day on an unsaid radio station?
Well, I don't remember April Fools, but I do know I was taped to the goalpost at the Grey Cup in '89 because we were a couple of days before it was my birthday, a couple of days before the big game against Hamilton. So that happened. And I do know that Dave and I constantly messed with the offensive line. And I say Dave and I, but it was really mostly me. And I'll give you one quick one that I did to Roger Aldag and Bob Pulley. It's one of my favorites. I sat beside him, or in between the two of them, on flights to away games. So, I'm in the middle between two offensive linemen that are poking me and putting their finger in my ear and all this stuff, not letting me sleep. So I thought, I'm going to get these guys. They always would play crib. And if you know crib, if you know crib, you know that the fives are important in crib. So they were getting busy. They put their cards on my table in the middle and the crib board, and they were putting their bags away. I took the deck, took all the fives out of the deck and put it back. Before they noticed, we flew from Regina to Toronto to play the Argos on the road. They played the whole time without the fives in a crib game. So I wake up, I get up off the plane. I make sure I have some distance. You got to get off the plane or else they could have caught me pretty easily. I get some distance and I pull out of my pocket the 4 fives and I say, hey guys, you kept mentioning that you were never getting a hand, and I just wondered if you needed these. And I dropped them and took off. And they couldn't catch me.
That's awesome.
What's an April Fool? I used to mess with the alignment big time.
I like that one. That's a good story. Hey, Commissioner, possibly, eh? Yeah. Not you. You told us the truth. It's not Glen Suitor.
No, It is not. And I can't confirm or deny. And I listened in to you guys talking about it and the speculation. But I can say that I know Stu very well, Stuart Johnson. And
did you go with Stu or Stuart? Like if I talk to him, what are we going with?
I would think Stuart. That's what I've called him. But he's a few floors above my status there at Bell Media, but I've always just called him Stuart. But again, a guy is a great choice, and I don't want to make the comparison because I hate when we always make comparisons. But if I look at the biggest or most important influential commissioners in the National Football League's history, it would probably go back to Pete Rozelle. And when I've heard, you could make this a drinking game when I say the word messaging. And somebody should do this one time when we're doing our thing here, and I say the word messaging, take a drink. You'll have a good night, because I think it's so important. And Pete Rozelle knew that. He was the guy who was part of creating Monday Night Football and having a prime time weekday football game. They started out with the idea that it should be on Friday nights, but didn't want to mess with high school ball. So at that time in the 60s, they decided that Monday night was the night. And I don't know how, I don't know if he invented it, but he was part of the beginning of Monday Night Football and created the competition for expansion with cities in the NFL, bringing the American League in with the National Football League, and was influential. Key for Rozelle was messaging. And I'm not saying that if it's Stuart Johnson that he is going to turn the CFL into a 31-team league, and we just don't have the population.
31. Mooseman, you're getting a team.
Yeah, we don't have the city size. We don't have the population. That's just not. And that's why I hate making the comparison. But just from a messaging and presentation point of view, there's the drinking game. Just from that point of view, I think Stuart Johnson would be excellent. He's been a great leader of our group. Always there if you want to talk to him about anything. Listens, is not one of those guys in charge that is sort of letting you talk and then walking away without listening. That's not Stuart. I think he'd be excellent.
And I like the one thing, obviously, and you could put this in any profession, any big corporation where somebody's moving, to something that is somewhat tied to it. He's going to know. Like, I think Arash called it the holes. He's going to know the problem, the pain points, to be like, all right, we gotta fix this, and we gotta fix this, right? He'll have a little bit of the and I use this a lot too. You can ding it if you want, in the inside baseball on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Would understand by working through it over the last 20 years the best way to present. The best way to present this fantastic game. That's the thing about when we talk about the CFL. It's not necessarily this discussion on what needs to be fixed. I've said for years that the game itself doesn't need to be fixed. How we present it and things like that are always a work in progress and something that we can always improve on for sure. But Stuart Johnson would understand some of the holes. He would understand what should be prioritized and what shouldn't. But the key for him, get the bell ready, is going to be how you present, how you message, because that's built. There it is.
There was the bell. Hey, you know what stands out for me, Suits, as well, is it's a reflection of how people at TSN feel about the CFL. This isn't people that are just going to work every day, punching the clock, and here on the big whiteboard, oh, we got to cover the CFL. We have, if this comes to fruition, we have a guy in a very successful spot with the broadcast partner moving across. There was a guy like Paul Graham years ago that was in on potential president's jobs and wanted to be a part of the league as well. Yourself, your passion shows through on a weekly basis for the league. You have Farhan working as well that shows his knowledge and passion for the league. These aren't people, like I say, just punching the clock and leaving at 5 o'clock and forgetting about their work. It's they're passionate about it. They want to see the league succeed and be put in the best light.
Yeah, and you guys had a great conversation with Arash that I listened in on, and I will say, Barney, that your estimation of the production value and the production costs it's closer to what you were thinking. It's much higher than what Arash thought, and then you have to add in salaries and everything else for TSN. So they, and I want to correct one thing, or just sort of the thought that there will be possibly no one interested down the road in televising these games. I can tell you TSN wants the rights back for sure. They're going to battle back for them. Stuart Johnson, if it is him, Stuart Johnson understands the value better than anybody of the CFL and what it brings. And when you're averaging over 500,000 a game in viewership across this country, you can put that up against any show that is on TV. You really can. And it's still, to me, underutilized product. Really, I mean, it's potential within our own country is still not realized. So I think this is the expertise that he can bring to the table.
I'm really curious, and nothing's come out official, but obviously it seems like this is going to be really curious on his stance on gambling, right? Because being where he, they don't have the NHL routes, they have the NHL rights geographically in some of the areas, but he would know the NFL situation. and all that,
Yep.
and where gambling goes with the CFL, because I think that's going to be a huge revenue line for the league, Glenn.
Yeah, and it's actually part of the increase in ratings that we're seeing over the last couple of years. I'd love to say it's the play-by-play and color guy that are bringing the ratings up, but I'm not going to say that. I will say though that I think it is partly due to gambling, and let's honest about gambling. It is that genie's out of the bottle now, and it's never going back in. So this idea that maybe there's the damaging end of it and that it had to be changed or altered, that's not happening. It's going, and yes, there'll be ways to take care of people that maybe abuse it. But the bottom line is it's happening, it's going forward, and now how do you best utilize it? And you're right about Stu Johnson's expertise. There's a guy who has been dealt with it in the TV aspect. He's dealt with it in how much we put on the air and how much we're not supposed to. We've wanted to slow play that almost as far as on-air talent to go and make sure we're doing it when it comes to gambling and presenting it that way, but making sure that people know what are the safe sites, the best way to do it, and the warning signs to not abuse it as well. So, yeah, I think that's going to be a huge part of it, a huge part of the growth. And the number one sport that people gamble on is football, whether it's the NFL, college ball, or the Canadian Football League. It's football.
Not in Europe. Soccer. I saw the soccer numbers once.
Football.
Oh, mama. Like, it makes what we're doing over here minuscule because it's such an international game, and basketball is there as well, but the soccer revenue so that's where these companies are coming at it and saying, all right, what kind of deal can we work out here? At the end of the day, if they got anything going on where you just were across the pond, that's where the bread is really buttered over there. But gambling's not going anywhere. It is what it is, and run the commercials for people that if they need a hand or need help. And then I think as a parent, a lot of that falls on me, right? My kids see me sprinkling at night, but they know it's just, it's not much and all that. As a parent, I have to explain to them as they get older here, okay, well, this isn't like your life or this isn't your job. Like this is kind of a form of entertainment, and then you shut it off at that point. So there's like a lot of things in life. I think it's like we've got to parent better.
Parent better. I couldn't agree more, and hold people responsible too for their decisions. I mean, that's the one thing I noticed being over in Europe, that they don't overgovern what we do here, and try to put guardrails up at every pathway to the castle. Like, you have to be responsible for your decisions, and yes, there can be addictions that take you down a bad path and you need help getting out. And I strongly recommend that anyone's feeling that, make a call to somebody you know and trust and get yourself out of that. But we do have to do more of that. And the one thing I would ask you though, Barney, about, I agree with you about soccer. I mean, soccer in Europe, I was in Newcastle when they won one of the cups. I think every game in Europe in a soccer stadium is a cup game, apparently. But this was a bigger cup game of some kind. And just being in a bar in Newcastle when they won against Liverpool, like it. So the gambling there, I just wonder what's the bet in soccer for goals? Like, is it +1 every time or 1.5?
What do you want me to go? Do you want me to go look right now? I got nothing better to do.
What would it be?
Let's go to the Premier League. I'll give you some lines here, Glenn. Like if you want to sprinkle on Manchester City. Well, yeah, they got the over under 3.5. So
3.5 goals.
There's an over under Southampton versus the Crystal Palace squad. The over under is 2.5. So that's going to be a defensive affair. I don't know. Next time you're in Scotland, let's sit down. Let's sprinkle on some soccer. And we'll go to one of the English pubs in town, crush a bunch of pints. We have no idea what we're doing. We'll have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I'm in.
Before I let you go,
Yeah.
let's shift to the end. If you were listening to us talk about Arash on the tush push, because I know you were talking about that earlier. Should they change that rule in the NFL, or should teams just have to be forced to figure out a way to stop it? Because it seems like there's only really one team that has figured out how to
really
capitalize on it 99% of the time. And as for such a copycat league, it's like, how can no one else figure it out?
Yeah, no, I don't think they should swing the pendulum so far that they take it out. I mean, someone has found a strategy that works well for their personnel and now figure out a way to stop it. I would watch it carefully, because to me it's a boring play. It's like if it becomes too commonplace, then maybe there's something they might have to do down the road. But this idea that when something happens in one season or two seasons even, that we need to completely change rules is it's crazy. It's swinging the pendulum too far.
I have an idea. Like, we're running the videos on the stream. Just came to me. The only one guy can be behind, and he has to be under a certain weight.
So you have to do a weigh-in before every game.
No, you'd have a designated guy. Like when you played ice hockey in Nintendo back in the day,
designated
skinny guy
pusher.
He can be the only guy back there.
Well, there is a rule, I believe it's still in the CFL, that you can't push a ball carrier from behind.
Right. Because
it's dangerous. So, there's that thought too, that you can't just carry a ball carrier in. But I hate the play, to be honest. Full disclosure. It's kind of like, to me, in the NFL, the punting in the NFL, where they touch the ball down. That to me is one of the worst plays in sports.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, in the way that their game is basically all the rules and the field size and everything, they need that. So I understand the purpose of it. I just think it's a boring play.
I'd like to ask Stuart if he could change the rouge where it can't decide a game. Somehow, some way. You can't be lining up on someone's 15-yard line and punt it onto the train tracks and you win the game.
So what's the difference if you get a rouge in the first quarter and win by one?
You have a chance to now get points back. They play the game.
I think there's an opportunity to fix the rouge if we're going down that segment, but
that's the next time. The next time. Okay, I lied. Before we let you go, what a move by Jeremy O'Day and the front office with the Riders locking in Logan Ferland for 2 more years. He wasn't due. He had this year in the till, but now they got him for another 2. And like Ryan said at the beginning, like, he was going to be a sought after free agent if he was going to the market.
Yeah, great signing by the team, without a question. We can just say one of the top linemen, if not the top lineman in the league. We could stop there and say signing a guy like that to an extension is, obviously going to help your team in the big picture. So what I love some more about, first of all, I listened to the interview with Logan, and offensive linemen get a bad rap. I mean, that's a well-spoken young man right there. And most of them are, really. And we should have them on more, because most of those old linemen are really well-spoken, smart guys. And he plays multiple positions. I love that he came up through the junior leagues. Yeah. And it just gives hope to every one of those kids that are out there that maybe aren't playing college ball or down south playing college, but can still get on a pro roster if that's their dream. So I love that part of his story. Well-spoken guy. Congratulations to him, and a great signing for the team.
It is Press Coverage with Glen Suitor for Bronco Plumbing and Heating. The professionals, they'll treat you right. He's on the program. You can tell he listens to the program, and just a great guy, and I can't wait for some messaging on Thursday. Glen.
Messaging. Correct messaging. There's 2 more.
Talk to you Thursday, buddy. See you later.
See you, Suits.